Good day and welcome to tonight's edition of Sunday Politics, a political program for the benefit of you, the Nigerian citizen. I am Suleiman. One of the major accusations against former President Muhammadu Buhari was that his political appointments were unbalanced, quote and unquote, that he displaced nepotism by favoring the North in his appointments. Since coming to power on May 29th this year, similar accusations of political favoritism have trailed the new government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Political pundits and ordinary citizens alike have accused the president of favoring the Southwest and the Northwest in his appointments, to the detriment of other parts of the country, they say. Some pundits go as far as claiming that a cabal, quote and unquote, of close allies has formed around the president and are the ones who decide who gets what under Tinubu's government. Are these accusations misplaced or are they based on fact? Is it not time for Nigerians to move beyond the issues of ethnicity, religion, and region in political appointments? Is it not time for Nigerians to focus mainly on the competence of those appointed? Tonight, we look at these issues in depth with my special guest at the studio and virtually, but also with you, the viewer at home. Joining me online from Jos is Professor Abubakar Kyari, a professor of political sociology at the University of Abuja. Also joining us online from Kaduna is Dr. Tanko Yunusa, who is chief spokesperson of the Peter Obi Datti Ahmad presidential campaign, cancelled in the February 2023 election. And with me in the studio is Mr. Malaki Uzendu, a publisher and editor-in-chief of Authority newspaper here in Abuja. But before we continue, let's have a short video on this issue. Stay with us.
President Bola Tinubu appointed hands that will work with him to enable his administration better the lots of Nigeria. A cross-section of Nigerians that spoke to Trust TV News said the new appointees should endeavor to carry Nigerians along with their policies to make things easy for common man.
I'm very happy for the appointment that he appointed some people because he knows all of them. They are together before. He knows what they can do. He knows what they cannot do. No. That appointment, it didn't disappoint Nigeria at all. It didn't affect Nigeria. Because I know this man is a politician since he knows everything. If he chooses somebody, he selects somebody for one place, one chance. The man didn't do correct. He immediately remove the person.
It's not there for his own rich. He's a rich man already, understand? As a father of a nation, he's trying to put a smile on our faces. There's some decisions that the father of the house will take, understand, unknowingly to the children. The children may not be able to know what the man is doing at that point in time, but the time is coming that they are going to recognize the effort of their father. Understand? Maybe you are trying to correct a child that is going astray. Understand? That time we said, oh, my dad did not love me, my mom did not love me. But the time they are well trained, then they will have nothing to thank their parents. That if not their parents, they will have been like the way. So what our president is doing now is for our good, and we shall all live to see the good and the greatness of this country.
Other Nigerians said the appointees should have fear of God in running the affairs to enable them contribute their quota to the development of the country.
It's of two-way, understand, because Tinubu himself is the father of a nation, and if you look at the way the country was before, and before the man comes into power, understand, before there's one adage says that no gain without pain. Understand? So it might look somehow difficult. Understand? Even the developed world that we are seeing today, they have theirs and they are enjoying their country. All I see is that with time, we are going to get it.
It is only Allah that can appoint good leaders. It is a collective responsibility of both the leaders and the people of the country. They called on the new appointees to always make honesty their best policy to turn the fortune of everyone in Nigeria around. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Welcome back. That was a short video there on the political appointments, or what some Nigerians felt about how the president has done fared so far. So with my guest in the studio, Mr. Let me start with you, Mr. Maliki. We have been here before, you know, where each time a new leader comes into office, you know, Nigerians will be raising this issue of favoritism in their political appointments. You know, is that what we should be concerned with right now in 2023 in this country?
Well, you know, the reason for such agitations is because of the way the country has been polarized. We are divided along ethnic, religious, and tribal lines. Unfortunately, we've not had a leader who could be considered a statesman and who could, you know, who has been able to put all these things at the back of his mind. You know, Nigeria is a vast country. Nigeria is like 3 or 4 countries put together.
Absolutely.
With a population of not less than 123 million, as at the last count. And with people of diverse...
223 million, actually.
Yes, 223 million.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
You know, with people with vast academic and professional background. Now, what do I mean by that? In a country that is so polarized as Nigeria, what one should expect is a leader who can look into the various areas, you know, of the country, and then pick people from those areas to be able to satisfy the various feelings of the people. You know why it is so? If you check in the past 20 years, it appears, and with very big evidence, that people who are appointed to positions just go there for selfish aggrandizement. They go there either to steal money or to just get their own kids and kings appointed into offices, or to do something that will in fact just favor their own people. Therefore, if you put me, and perhaps only you, on positions of authority or trust, what people will believe is that only our people will benefit, and that has always been the case. But if, for instance, a president looks at the various sectors, the various, you know, let me say, states or geopolitical zones in the country, and then pick people on equal basis and equal footing. Now, what it will mean is that if they have come there to steal, people from the various parts of the country will steal that money. And they will see them, either they take it abroad as they used to do, or they invest it from within. If they want to employ...
Thank you. I find what you are saying quite interesting about people coming, because there was a time we had a minister in Nigeria who said ministerial appointment is about come and chop, you know, inviting people to come and chop. But let me use this opportunity to bring in our guest online, Dr. Tanko Yunusa. Dr. Tanko, in your understanding, in your understanding, do you think that the President Bola Tinubu has erred so far in his appointments? Do you think he stands accused of unbalanced appointments, the way in which Nigerians accused the former president and probably every other president in the country?
Arguably so. Right from the beginning, there are challenges as regard to the legitimacy of this particular government. So when the issue of legitimacy arises and is still subsiding at the moment, it becomes so difficult for the president to be able to make appointments across the board, because he will be trying to satisfy those who have supported him, whether wrongly or rightly, to continue to institutionalize himself illegally or legitimately into position of power. And so that is the situation in which we found ourselves. Now, there is a saying, of course, which also says that when the head of a fish is rotten, the whole body of the fish is rotten. And in this particular situation, we have a situation where he, the president himself, has been accused of the legitimacy on which he found himself in the position of power. And at the same time, whether his credentials qualified him to run for election. And now that dovetails into
let me take you on one point about this legitimacy issue that you mentioned. Let me take you on one point regarding this legitimacy issue you mentioned, because So far as I know, the legitimacy issue was taken to court, and the court has decided and affirmed that election. The next process about the challenge to the legitimacy of that election is there and is proceeding. But at this point, the substantive position, is that the election which brought the president to power holds. So I think maybe the legitimacy question has been settled up to this point. When cases get to Supreme Court, they can do or say what they want. They can overturn the election, they can reaffirm it, and so on. But at this point, I think the process by which the election has been challenged has stood firm. So can we talk about the appointments, more than the legitimacy issue, given that that has already been settled in court? Thank you.
A little bit patient with me. I was heading somewhere. Now, the issue of whether the issue of legitimacy has been settled, not yet, because there are cases already being taken to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the land. If it was after the Supreme Court judgment, you make this particular assertion, I will go with you. But then, this is the catch. The idea of the appointment of the minister dovetail into the issue of the qualification of who appointed. I'll give you an example. Now, the president appointed a minister who's supposed to be a serving youth corps member. She's supposed to be a serving youth corps member. The same president appointed ministers who do not have prerequisite qualification. Now, you see, that means that there's a trajectory as regard to the legitimacy of the president, and they too have followed the same thing. So that makes them not even qualified to be ministers in the first place. This is not to take away their qualification or individual as the capability. But how do you explain when somebody was supposed to be a serving NYNC member, which has already been confirmed, and yet is a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? That sends a signal to every Nigerian that you can do anything and get away with it. That is the danger for me. Because we are being told as young boys and girls to go to school. When you want to go to school, you must have a primary certificate, secondary school certificate, a university, then you must serve the country to be able to be legitimately qualified for certain position. So now, whether those particular individuals have qualified to be in that position, that gives it a question mark. Now, going further, whether a section of the country has been satisfied, whether another portion of the country has been ignored, which has already been established. Now, it is very, very clear. Our borders in the southeastern part of this country feel completely annihilated. And that has already been happening long even before now. So it is expected that when there are positions, it should be shared equitably so everybody will feel the impact of governance. But of course, the argument will go that every state of the federation has been
Mr. Malaki into, because Mr. Malaki, Dr. Tanko raised a very important issue that some part of the country has more or less been annihilated, in his own words, by the president's appointment so far. And I'm wondering, do you share that view, considering the fact that the Constitution says that the president shall appoint a minister from each state? Is there any state in Nigeria where a minister has not been appointed? And if there is not, could it still be true that the president in his appointments has favored other parts of the country, as the case may be? Yes.
Well, first of all, I have to say good evening to Dr. Tanko Yunusa. And going forward, I think the constitutional requirements of appointing a minister from each state has been satisfied. But there is what is called tokenism, just for the sake of fulfilling all righteousness.
Interesting.
In as much as I don't want to begin to delve into defending the Southeast as a bloc, even the FCT, you can imagine, for instance, that a state has 3 ministers. And the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, has a Minister of State. Just one person, Minister of State. Do you call that equity?
Interesting.
So, if you now look at the Southeast case, it didn't start today. Now, what even makes it more interesting is the appointment of heads of the parastatals. Because the ministers will not go alone. Now, you have about 200 parastatals or more, and then you are appointing more than half of the heads of those parastatals from a particular geopolitical zone. And you are distributing the other 50% to the entire geopolitical zones. And probably you come to one section, you give them 2%. That cannot be seen as equity. You remember, the point of emphasis is that from 1999 till today,
Yes.
people that have been appointed into those positions of trust were busy putting something into their own nest, more than serving the society that they were, appointed to serve. They were busy appointing their kinsmen. So if you give somebody 2% or 1%, they will only succeed in bringing into the overall this thing 1%, because it's like a winner takes all. So that is what is fundamentally wrong with that procedure.
So are you saying that people are serving their own private pockets because of the way the appointments have been?
You can even see the probes.
Okay.
People that are being probed, look at Magu, look at the other Abdul Rashid of EFCC, look at their prints. All of them from Adamawa. Why should all of them come from Adamawa State? All the heads minus Farida Waziri. All the heads of... Now, what does that translate to? Go to EFCC.
Bawa is from Kebbi State, not Adamawa State.
Okay, maybe I'm corrected, and I take the correction.
Go ahead.
But go to EFCC. More than 50% of the workers there are from Adamawa State. Now, go to CBN, for instance. Whenever you have a CBN governor, the tendency is that majority of the people that are there, especially those at policy-making decisions, will be from his own area. It doesn't do well to this country. There are several people with vast experiences, with vast academic qualifications, who are not tendered, just like Dr. Yunus has said. Why should a youth corps member? There are people like you and me who have pedigree. Then you are bringing in a youth corps member, for goodness sake, to say he or she is minister, Musa Musawa. It's an insult to the nation. You are bringing in people who have two care legs. You are making them party candidates at an election. Look at what the tribunals have been ruling. You go to several states. So many people have been removed, because of those fundamental things that were not done. But the primary focus of this particular program is on the presidential appointments. Now, look at those people that are being appointed.
Thank you. Let me pick a question from what you are saying for Dr. Tanko. Dr. Tanko, you have been a politician for a long time, and you are familiar with all these issues. Are you there with us, Dr. Tanko? You've been in politics for a long time. Before you were in politics, you were in activism, pro-democracy and all of that, which is all good. But at what point do we draw the line in Nigeria? Do we say that whoever is appointed is actually a Nigerian citizen, as long as they are a Nigerian citizen and they are qualified for the post for which they are appointed, then that idea of where they come from should not matter much? Is that possible in Nigeria, or is it too much to ask?
So it is not too much to ask. But before I answer your question, let me also appreciate Chief Malaki Dudu for greeting me. Good afternoon or good evening, sir. Let us make this assertion very clear. From those who we assume to have learned democracy from, seems to put integrity as number one in terms of appointment of persons. They now look at the rule of law and engagement. They put it as another prerequisite for getting governance to the people. Then they form another issue of communication to ensure that there's a communication between the top and the bottom. And they ensure that whatever they are dishing out are facts. So when you cross-check it, you find out that the fact that they put on ground is the true position. And even if they are found wanting, as regard to the fact that they put on the ground, is either they apologize or they resign positions. But here is the reverse case, in our own scenario. First of all, we find it difficult presently to put integrity as a focal point. Integrity has been put into the dustbin. Look at the processes of our elections. Before you qualify, there are rules of engagement to qualify you. But people now manipulate. They manipulate that particular rules of engagement. And it's been institutionalized. That is the danger. So anybody who feels that he has power, he has money, he has collaboration of individuals, he can find himself in a position of power, and that is not acceptable. That, of course, leads to the issue of rule of law. The rule of law has been mortgaged. And the point is study in Nigeria, it has been assessed that almost every politician has a judge tied to his apron to make decisions in his favor. And how do you expect such a country to survive in a democratic setting? It can't happen. So until when we find a way of challenging the status quo as it sits now, to say, hey, let's put a stop to this. How do we even appoint the leaders of INEC? Who will become the chairman of INEC, and how did he become? And here I align myself with the Justice Mohammed Uwais panel report, of which unfortunately Festus Okoye, who happened to be a member of that particular committee, they gave us rules, they gave us suggestions. May his soul rest in peace, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that's Umar Yar'Adua, who agreed that the election that brought him in was flawed. And so therefore, he set up that particular committee. But on setting up that committee, they came out with beautiful suggestions. One, they said INEC should be unbundled. And even if you want to appoint the chairman of INEC, you must put it publicly. In selecting who will become the INEC chairman, it's not somebody that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will appoint. Suleiman, but it is a fact that today, most of the commissioners of INEC are card-carrying members of the APC. And that is the same situation in which we had when PDP was ruling too. Most of the card-carrying members of the commissioners were PDP members. So probably, if a Labour Party presidential candidate becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, majority of the commissioners will be card-carrying members of Labour Party.
I'm sure a lot of people
then in that regard,
that.
How do you expect rule of law? How do you expect integrity, rule of law, and other communication agreements to be fair? It won't be. So we need to set the record straight. We need to make sure that those who are qualified are those who are in position of power.
Thank you. Being in position of power is one thing. The real issues, maybe some Nigerians are thinking, Dr. Tanko, is the balance between competence and representation. Representation by state, representation by region, or religion, or ethnicity, and any of these things that Nigerians care about, which are, of course, important, to a lot of people. No one disagrees with that. But what about the actual ability to do the job? To be up and doing, to be able to do the job. What about that one? Do you sacrifice that on the basis of representation, or how do you find the balance?
No, because of the polarization of the Nigerian states, we are cut across different religious and tribal lines. And everybody feels it will be justifiable if any of my siblings in the position of power. But then, I can boast and tell you that in every part of this country, there are capable individuals. Be it in terms of educational capability, in terms of intellectual capability, in terms of physical capacity. They have it. But the truth about it is that, do they have the prerequisite qualification in the first instance to become who they are? That's where education becomes important. And you need to put integrity and justify it. I cannot bring up somebody from Kano State, for example, my own state, who I know has the capability to perform. He belongs to a religion, is a Muslim. But that particular person does not have the prerequisite to become a minister. He has never gone to the first school of university, which is a prerequisite. He has never been to a primary school, he's never been to the secondary school, neither has he gone to university. But he has the capability. Then because he has the capability and I put him there, no. It means that I've gone contrary to the provision of the Constitution and then the prerequisite that qualify him. But if I pick somebody who has gone through the four corners of the university, who has gone through secondary school and primary school, and he has the capability, which I know I have in Kano State. Would I be wrong to have selected such a person? Of course not. So in every state, we have those who have that particular capacity to perform.
Thank you. Let me bring in Mr. Malaki now. You heard what he's saying, that regardless, I mean, capacity is important, but representation equally important, and so on. And sometimes politicians go for representation more than capacity, because you have capacity everywhere across the country. But there are some people who are looking at these things differently. They're saying that, okay, every Nigerian knows people from his own part of the country more than he knows other Nigerians, you know. So when it comes to appointments of people within somebody's inner circles, you know, what we like to call cabal in this country, you're only naturally likely to appoint people that you know, people that you can trust, you know, because trust is also part of these issues, particularly for jobs that are quite sensitive. Chief of Staff, you know, Defense Minister, Chief of Army Staff, things like that, you know. So how do you think a president, you know, any Nigerian president, whether it's from the southeast or from the northeast or from whatever in the country, how do you think they can handle issues such as this?
It's very simple. Okay. In the first place, can anybody tell me that there is any part of this country where you don't have competent, capable, honest, conscientious, hardworking people? The answer is no. But if there is food on this table now, and I want to deny you food, I will say that the cameraman has been crying. That is my own notion. And then I will deny you that food and give it to him. People from outside, they either believe it or not. So if the president says that there are people who are very competent, is it not what we have had in the past 8 years? And the economy is like this. And Naira has crashed to almost more than $1. Sorry, $1,000 to 1,000 Naira to $1. And we still be calling them people that are competent. See, why don't they also look for such type of people to only vote for them? They should go to their communities and look for people to vote for them. Why do they canvass for votes from other parts of the country, from people that are not competent? And then they will be groaning that those people that are not competent did not vote for them. Will they accept that they are mumu and therefore they didn't vote for them because of their mumurity, quote unquote, and unquote? Do you understand me? The fact remains that human beings know what is right. If they don't want to do what is right, they will give you 1,001 reasons why they are doing the wrong things. And then they will continue to justify it, which is what we call. Nigeria is not ripe for that kind of appointment. If you want to do proper placement, divide the ministries, call your party members, tell them to go, because each of them worked. Whether they won an election or they didn't win an election, they tried their possible best. You can base your appointment based on party affiliation. You can base it on spread and say, look, let me get this party, let me get this party. Okay, party A, you are very strong in so and so area. Give us 2 or 3 people of competence. Give us their CV, you analyze it, you know what they can do. Your own party, you say, you are very strong in so and so area, give us people from there. By the time you put them together, assuming, for instance, that we have 37 states, as we have been told now, and you say times 2, that is almost a 72, 74 this thing. Then you now say, okay, let each of those states, including FCT, that is now a state, or classified as a state, give us two persons. And then you make it that one state will produce minister, the other state will produce minister of state.
Okay.
There will be no agitation.
But that would mean you will now have 74 ministers in the country, and then people will say,
no, then
cost of governance.
Why should you now come and pick 4 ministers from one state and give the other one? Because the constitution says that a minister must be appointed from one state. That is cheating. Do you understand me? Now, if, for instance, you subject little children to taking JAMB, that is very difficult, for taking WAEC and NECO, What is wrong in subjecting people that will want to hand over the affairs of this country to examination?
Thank you. It's very interesting that you mentioned the issue of voting, because part of this discussion is that voters, the ministerial appointment depend on the contribution of votes by particular states or particular regions. So some states contributed more to the final victory outcome than other states. Some regions do more than that. But before we talk on that, when we will be going on the short break, when we return, we'll be giving you, the viewer, an opportunity to join us live in this discussion and make your contribution or ask questions. We have a phone number displayed on our screen. All you need to do is to take it up, dial the number, tell us your name, and then go ahead to make your contribution or ask a question. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I am Suleiman, and we're discussing issues around the political appointments so far made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we are giving you the opportunity, of course, the viewer, to also call in and make your contribution through our phone line displayed right on our screen. You can call in to make a query or to make a contribution. Either way, we're here for you. So, Mr. Malaki, as you were saying, that the political is about voting, and I was saying that some states have contributed to vote because you have parties, and parties are spread across different parts of the country. So some states give their votes to one candidate, other states give their votes to another candidate, So, and democracy, this is a liberal democracy. It's about winner takes all. So why should people complain if your candidate lost the election, and then why should you complain after the election?
Now, if politicians are very reasonable, they will know that there is no father figure somewhere who rallies people to go and vote a particular political party. Every political party have membership. They have structures in all the states. Those structures, the people that are running the structures, try their possible best to convince people around them. In fact, those who didn't give a particular political party votes even suffer the more, because they will take up more difficult and more stringent process to convince people on why they should vote for a particular political party. Don't also forget Nigeria process of voting is not voting. Somebody will stay somewhere and write the results. Whereas people that have...
We'll come to that. Let me take...
Yes.
Dr. Tanko. Okay, Dr. Tanko, do you think that voting should not count in the distribution of political appointments by our presidents? Not just this president, but any other president. Do you think voting, the electoral base, should not matter? After all, the president is still a politician. He would want to be re-elected.
Unfortunately for us, every state is being categorized as equal as a state. It is not unproportional representation. For example, if you take the number of votes that may come out of Lagos, may differ from what you get from Kano. Take an Abia State, for example, the number of registered voters run into millions in Kano and run to millions in Lagos. Now, if you take a state in Abia, you may end up having like almost just thousands of people because of the people who are populated in that area. Now, if it was a proportional representation, you could also say that Kano deserves like 6 to 7 ministers based on the population that they may chunk in, and then a state of Abia may get only 1, and Lagos may get 6 or 7 as the case may be. But the situation is not so. You have to go with the provision of what the Constitution says. The Constitution is very, very clear. It does say each state must be represented on that particular cabinet. Like Chief Malaki has said, that tokenism being given to gratify for certain states who have turned in large number of voters, and probably other portfolios like parastatals and other appointments will be given to kind of take care of those particular representation from those particular states. But then in each of the states, the basic thing that is required is to ensure that capable, qualified individuals. I lay emphasis on qualification because our young ones have been tutored that they must go to school. They must go to primary school. Before they go to primary school, they must qualify at a certain age to be in that primary school, from that primary school to secondary school, from secondary school to a university, from a university, they graduate and then serve. These are the teaching that they've been given. And they are meant to believe that if they can't go through that, they cannot become somebody in Nigeria. So, and all of a sudden, you are now pushing all of this particular rigorous training to the dustbin and then picking somebody who does not even bother to submit his documentation for even qualification as a graduate. It becomes difficult. It sends a wrong signal. It makes the whole democracy a mockery. And that, of course, for me, and a lot of Nigerians, I believe, is totally unacceptable. So either way, the Constitution has to be very clear, and then whoever is appointing must make sure that he follows the rules of engagement. What is being provided as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for anybody who wants to be in a position of power to serve the people. Because if you do not meet that requisition, there will be integrity minus. There will be deficit of trust in our governance. And of course, there will not be belief that yes, democracy is the best option for governance in Nigeria. And this we have to treat softly and carefully.
Thank you. This, again, message out that we are at this part of the show, on this segment of the show, and this later part of the show, the callers at home have the right of way. So anytime that someone calls in, we'll interrupt whoever is speaking at the time to take their contribution or questions. But Chief Malaki, to come back to an issue that Dr. Tanko raised, he mentioned the youths of Nigeria. So geopolitical representation is not the only issue here. There is also youth and gender. And then some people are saying that the appointments made by the president so far have actually been favorable in terms of gender and youthful balance. It's being created a minister of youth led by 2 young people in their own right. How do you view that?
I don't think that is the issue. There is a fundamental issue that Dr. Tanko Yunusa mentioned. Procedure and process. If you bring in maybe somebody who is 30 and make him Minister of Health, and that person ran foul of his academic process, will you say that it is correct?
But of 45 ministers, there's correct. One person. Of 45 ministers, there's only one person with such an issue. What about the other 48 ministers? There's only one.
Why we're emphasizing is that it is very, very fundamental. They say when one hand brings oil, it soils the rest. Do you understand me? That person with such a questionable pedigree should not even be found there at all. It is a misnomer. And unfortunately, we are killing the institution that was put together by the revered General Yakubu Gowon, retired. Except we want to say we want to scrap NYSC. Let me tell you something that some people do not know. When once you have filled a form and you list HND and above on that form, it becomes a matter of must. It becomes imperative that you must produce your NYSC certificate or a certificate of exemption. Once you have HND, and let me tell you, sir, when you are filling forms, what they normally write on that form is educational qualifications, is plural. So you cannot keep away any. The moment you keep away any of your educational qualifications, you have committed perjury because you told a lie. The question is plural. These things are very important because integrity must come back to our process. Once you remove integrity, we will just be carried away by the wind. It is very, very fundamental. And let me tell you, sir, it is good because people like me, I have tried my very possible best to investigate the NYSC. And I discovered that their integrity is almost 100%. You cannot manipulate their figure. Otherwise, Kemi Adeosun would have had her way. The former communications minister would have had her way.
But he had his way.
Tutu would have had her way.
You're talking about Adebayo Shitu. He had his way.
He didn't have his way. He apologized and ran away. Forget that is the thing. That what we were saying is that
8 years.
Yes, what we were saying is that the appointers are to blame. If you appoint to say sit there, nothing will happen to you. You will stay put. It was because Kemi Adeosun felt, because of her own background, that look, this aboro tendency should not apply. She ran away. She absconded. Even the president did not know when she ran away from the country. Maybe she went through some backyard routes and then disappeared because she felt remorse. The remorse was so high on her. Just one person, no. But it is very, very important. If they say that they go through screening, especially screening by the DSS, and such type of people, slip through their ego eye, then we have a very bad problem. It must only be that the man in charge is saying, hey, my friend, forget this one. Let us move together. But those are the fundamental questions. You cannot move the country forward on a K-legged table. It's not possible.
Doctor, okay, we have a caller on the line. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Hassan Ibrahim Edogbanya from Kano State.
Okay, Hassan, good evening. Go ahead and make your contribution or ask a question.
Yeah, I've been here. I've been listening to the whole thing. Yeah, I just have a little contribution here. In the area of this appointment.
Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to I have a little input here. Number one, every president has what we call kitchen cabinet, the people they trust. If a president comes to the office, the first people he look at is people who can help him work. He has the mandate to deliver in the country, and the people he look at are people he has to trust to work for him. At least these are the first set of the appointment. And I see, in terms of the ministerial appointment, the president tried. At least he touched every angle.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you. You are saying that the issue of trust is important. So presidents are confined or at least compelled to appoint people where they come from. We have another caller on the line. Yes, please. Go ahead. Tell us your name, where you are calling from, and then make a contribution or ask a question.
We have another caller on the line. Yes, please. Go ahead. Tell us your name, where you are calling from, and then.
Go ahead. Can you tell us your name? And while you are trying to do that, maybe lower the volume of your TV.
I'm Motiu now.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Abdullah Musa from Kankia, Katsina State.
Abdullah Musa from Kankia, Katsina State. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Motiu. I'm hearing your conversation on the appointment of the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, quite right. The appointment reflects all the 6 geopolitical zones. Hello?
Go ahead. Just keep speaking. Yes, we can hear you.
The appointment of his ministerial cabinet reflects all the 6 geopolitical zones.
Okay.
Gender equality were considered. Especially, I have seen the women who are appointed as a minister. Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you, Abdullah.
And also the ministerial appointments, majority of them are professionals in their field of their assignment.
Interesting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have another caller. So far, professionals, geopolitical distribution across the country, gender balance, and of course the issue of trust. These are the issues that our callers have been raising so far. Yes, we have another caller on the line. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and then go ahead.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Ahmed Adamu. I'm calling from Gombe.
Ahmed Adamu from Gombe. Go ahead, please.
Yes, from Gombe. Yes. I want to thank Dr. Malaki and Dr. Chanko very well for their contributions. Now, talking about these appointments, I don't know, Dr. Malaki, please, can you look at the appointment, the initial appointment of the Ministry of Interior and that of Ministry of Transport? I can't understand what actually happened there. A Minister of Interior was proposed, and before swearing in, before swearing in, you now shifted him to another place. I mean, I don't know if there is really a misnomer there, Dr. Malaki. Please, I want you to look at it and let me know, is there anything wrong there? Because I'm not comfortable like that. Thank you very much.
So I think we can let the guest to respond at this point.
I think the president has the prerogative to determine who he puts anywhere. But then the question that I want to ask, which is a rhetorical question, is it proper for a presidential candidate to ask somebody he doesn't trust to look for votes for him?
Interesting.
So if it is so why should a presidential candidate ask somebody that he has no trust whosoever to look for votes for him, whether the person eventually succeeds or not? So it tells you that the issue of trust now is subjective. It is not objective. You cannot tell me that I trust you more than the other person. Why? But when you do something that is measurable, something that can be measured, something that can, who is untrustworthy? Is it the chairman of the campaign committee in a particular state that will now consider untrustworthy, or the chairman of the strategic
in other words, once you are a member of the party, you work with them, then
you have the confidence of the president. So
thank you. Let me bring in Dr.
Tanko. Tell us that he's now bringing people that he trusts. It doesn't arise.
Dr. Tanko, how do you respond to some of the issues raised by our callers in 1 minute? Some people talk about trust, some talk about anomalies in the appointments, while others address the issues of competence, professionalism, and of course the geographical distribution of those appointed so far.
Interestingly, the person that was appointed as the Minister of Transport, who was given a portfolio before, a very refined gentleman who happened to be the former governor of Osun State, happened to be a cousin of the president. And so here, family ties and interests become an issue for the president to ensure that the person that he gives any portfolio to is comfortable to serve in that particular regard. And so I think that was what really came into play as regard to changing of portfolio. I don't think probably Oyetola was so comfortable, or the president himself was comfortable after looking at the position. I was of 100% assurance that Oyetola will take over from the former governor of Osun State, who happened to be former president, former governor, who happened to be the governor of Osun State, will have taken over from the Interior Ministry. And then, of course, probably the interplay of politics will have happened within that particular portfolio, but it didn't happen. So he was given a fresh position. In fact, the issue even became that even at the Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Interior, they were not even ready to accommodate the two ministers because there was no provisions for the two ministers because one of the ministers was actually created. So they had a lot of issues in that regard. So this is what we call lack of preparedness for the present position.
I'm afraid I have to cut you short there, Dr. Tanko. This is where we come to the very end of this program. Thank you very much, Dr. Tanko Yunusa, the chief spokesperson for the Labour Party presidential candidate during the 2023 election. Thank you also for coming here, Mr. Maleki Uzandu, the editor-in-chief of Authority newspaper here in Abuja. Thank you also for staying with us, the Nigerian voter and viewers back home. Thank you for staying with us on this program. We hope you join us next week when we meet on another edition of Sunday Politics. My name is Suleiman Suleiman. Good night.